Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Trucker Talk Show. It's Tuesday night. We do this every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Time. We also have a show called In Case You Missed It that comes out on Thursday nights at 5 p.m. Central. So if you're new here, if you're just checking it out, you can subscribe to the channel and select that bell, and you'll receive notifications when future videos come out. Um, as you may can tell by the background, I'm not using a virtual background tonight. I'm actually in the truck. I'm actually heading to the new job. I'll start there Thursday morning at 7 a.m. for orientation. That'll be going probably about 12 or 13 hours that day. We're going to try to get me on the road by Friday afternoon, but it's going to definitely be a marathon orientation. And I'm actually kind of excited. I haven't driven in a couple of months. This has been a crazy week. I can't wait to tell you guys about it tonight. But before we do, let me say hello to a few people that have been waiting patiently. Michael is in the house. Thank you for being here. Good evening to you as well. Dale is here. Glad you could make it. My good friend Dennis Blazer is here. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. And of course, Trucking with the Fly Rabbits saying good evening to everyone. Also, good friend of the show, Ted is here. Yes, sir. Things are really good now. And a former coworker of mine that lives right here, resides in Lubbock, Texas. Red Raider Reloading is here. If you're into, I can't say the word because of YouTube, those things that are shaped like this and they go bang bang. If you're into things like that, he's even got a picture in his profile there. Check out his channel. There's a lot of great information there. And somebody that's quickly becoming a good friend of the channel, Miss Limousine is here. I'm going to watch some of it. About to leave out of the state of Washington here in 1 hour. All right. Well, I'm hoping it doesn't go too long tonight because I got some more driving to do as well tonight. And I didn't shut my curtains like I usually do when I do these. So you never know when I'll get a knock on the door or something like that. But we'll see how it goes. We'll do our best to get through this tonight. Good evening, Trucker Todd. Hey, Gary, long time no see. DFW bound. I'll be right behind you, or I may be. We're probably right around the same area. I'm going to be heading that way. I'm headed to the southeast. I'm not going to say exactly where I'm going because some of the detectives in the room that are trying to figure out where I'm going to work will be able to put it together if I say. But yeah, I got some driving to do tonight, and then a full day of driving to do tomorrow. So if you're on Interstate 20, there's a good possibility you may run into me somewhere. Yeah, and it almost didn't happen. This has been a crazy week. We're going to talk about it here in just a second. I just, sometimes YouTube's kind of slow with the notifications. I'm not trying to drag it out. I'm just trying to give everybody a chance to get in here so that we don't have to refry the same egg several times. Good evening, Russell Freight Services. Glad you're here. The right way to truck. Hello, sir. Thank you, or ma'am. I believe the right way to truck is a sir, but if it's a ma'am, I'm sorry. But I'm glad you're here. My truck is almost paid off. That right there in this economy, I would say is worth its weight in gold. I kick myself every day for not having that Volvo right now. It's just so much easier than when you have a truck payment. The lower your overhead is, and I mean businessly and business wise and professional and personal wise, the less overhead you have, the easier it is out here. And you know, I've got a lot of stuff right now, and so I have to run pretty good to take care of everything. But if you've got a paid off house, paid off cars, maybe you're a single person, it's a lot easier than if you've got 5 kids and a $2,500 mortgage and a brand new truck you're making payments on. So I think Russell's life's going to get a lot easier when he gets his truck paid off. And congratulations. Glad to hear that. I told you you could do it. Yeah, Ted, this week it was really out of my control. Uh, so a lot happened. Like I said, I know I'm kind of dragging it out. People are still coming in, and I want to give everybody a chance to get here. Then we'll talk about it. You're in Wichita Falls right now. Yeah, I'll never catch you because I'm going to be running down through Dallas and across 20 for most of this journey. Actually, I may be. I hadn't actually looked at it all the way, but yeah, I'm going to be in the South. I'm trying to be purposefully vague. I do know where I'm going, but I want to be a little vague at this point. This is the reason I'm being a little vague, Greg. For the time being, I'm not saying where I'm going to work, and there's a couple reasons for that. One of them, and I've given several reasons in the past, but one of them purely is that I want to go check this company out. Uh, and I'm going to wait 2 or 3 months, kind of see how it goes over there, kind of get a vibe for the place, and then I'll report back to you guys. Now, that doesn't mean if you call me or email me and I think that they'd be a good fit for you, I might make some introductions and things like that. But for the time being, I just kind of want to go over there. And plus, it gives me a chance to be, I don't have to worry about what I say getting me in trouble, which is a first for me. Usually, what I say, I kind of say what I say and live with the consequences. I just tell the truth. And I can definitely do that if there's not a company involved. But 2 or 3 months from now, if things are still going good, then sure, we'll talk about them and go from there. But just in the beginning, I don't want to do that. And that may mean if there's another company that I think's a good fit for you, I might pitch them to you as well. For example, my good friend trucking with the fly rabbit that you saw in the comments a minute ago, he's at a company that he's really really happy with. And if if you call me and you're looking for a company, and I think that might be a good fit for you, then I may make some introductions there. You guys also know that I got my truck from a company there in Iowa. I'm pretty happy with it, and it might be that I think the solution for you, especially if you've got some money saved up, is that you get your own truck and go to the company of your choosing. One thing about having your own truck, and I experienced it with the Volvo, and I'm experiencing it now with this truck, is a lot of doors open up for you when you have your own truck. And so things that might not have been possible for you in the past, suddenly companies are willing to negotiate and talk about. But I've spent a crap ton of money the last 2 months. And so you need to have a pretty good nest egg. The best I can figure, I'm somewhere around $35,000 that I've spent in the last 2 months. And I'm not bragging. I'm not telling you it was easy. It's been a real struggle. And uh, I'll be totally honest with you. I probably wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for you guys. A lot of you have been praying for me. Several of you have done super chats and things like that. And I'm not asking for that now. I hadn't asked for it in the past, but I can tell you it's made a big difference. And by Thursday, I'll be back at work. Well, I'll be in orientation for 13 hours. So if you call me on Thursday, it might be Friday afternoon before I can get back to you. Because as soon as I get out of that class, I need to be sleeping for the next morning. I'm an old man now. But let's say hi to a couple more people and then we'll get there. Hey, John Toohey, my good friend, is in Tennessee tonight. Well, there you go, man. Yeah, not yet, but I want to. I really do. I just, the thing I don't want to get accused of is, he hadn't even done orientation yet, and he's saying he's really happy at this company or something like that. There's guys on YouTube that do that, and I'm 99% sure that I'm going to be happy there because I'm basically going to be doing identical to what I was going to be doing at F2F. Spot market, pretty much around any load board you want. The package I selected is an 80-20 split. But there is some advantages. The trailer payment is significantly cheaper than what it was at F2F. And there's some stuff that he pays that F2F didn't pay. So my expenses will be slightly less as well. And so I'm pretty pumped about it. We'll see how it goes. And the spot market is still not where I wanted it to be, but it's better than it was. And it seems like it's slowly improving. And freight seems like it's picking up a little too. Again, not as fast as I'd want it to be, but I do see positive signs that make me feel like this is a good time to do what I'm doing. Dang it, I'm on I-80. Man, I hadn't been up there in a long time, but I got a good friend that lives up there on I-80 just outside of Chicago. And if I get up that way, I'd like to hang out with him and his family. They're really cool people. And he's in here sometimes. He's the guy with the Dodge Challenger that we always give him a hard time about he should loan it to me. But my good friend Mark is here, rolling and listens. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. All right, let's delve in, and then I'll jump back into some of these comments. So here's what happened this week. I got the truck, came from Iowa to Texas. And when you get to Texas, you got to do the title transfer. And the dealership had overnighted the stuff to the tax office here in Lubbock. But there's one location that does a lot of commercial stuff, and one of them that hardly ever does commercial stuff. They accidentally sent it to the one that hardly ever does commercial stuff. And I was nervous when I saw that, when they sent me the email with the tracking number for everything and all of that. But I went down there with a positive attitude, and it was a train wreck. Now, you guys might remember when I had the Volvo, it took about 3 days to get the title transferred of me going to the office, working on it all day. Every time you think you got it, they add a new stipulation instead of just giving you all the stipulations at once. So I got there. They said, you need an empty scale ticket. I already knew that. I had one. They said, all right, now you need a, what was it? Oh, a Texas state inspection. Now, that sounds simple enough to get. You're all familiar with the federal the federal inspection that you get, and they put the little sticker on the side of your truck. But this is a state one, and it's real similar to what the federal one is, but it's a printout they give you, and you have to take that printout. So I went to, because there's only some shops here that do it. Most of them are dealers or leasing agencies. Penske and Ryder told me they only do it for their vehicles. So I went to the Peterbilt dealership, and they were backed up. They couldn't do it. The guy was out with some family stuff for his kids, all kinds of excuses. So I went to the Kenworth dealer, which you guys that's been watching me for a long time know I've had a bad experience there in the past. It was by far not my first choice. And I go in there, and they come out and inspect it, and they say, you got to have brakes all the way around. Every single axle, every single hub needs brakes. And it's going to cost $9,800. And for those that don't know, a typical brake job for all 3 axles is somewhere around $2,500 usually. So they're asking almost 4 times what the normal amount is. I said, okay. Now in Texas, if you fail the first inspection, you get the second one for free, I think if you do it within 15 days. So you guys know I've also had a lot of positive experiences out at the Loves in Lubbock. So I took it out there, told them what was going on. They said, hey, Todd, let us take a look at it. So they pulled it in, and I need to back up a little. The rotors still had rust all the way around them, like trucks get when they sit on dealership lots for a while. Usually, if you go out and use the brakes a few times, um, it wears that rust off and the rotors are shiny again. Well, because I had only drove it straight from Dubuque, Iowa to Lubbock, and I was bobtail, I rarely had to use the brakes. You use the jakes to slow down, and you kind of coast up to the, not coast, but you let off the gas going up to stop signs and red lights. You don't do rabbit stops or whatever your favorite term is. You kind of gradually do things. Take it easy on the truck. You just got it. You want to check it out. And so I get there, and the international guy goes, "Oh, only 25% of your pad is touching on all your axles." And it was because he could see that rust on there. And so I took it out to my friends at Love's, and they said, "Hey, Todd, the only thing wrong with these brakes is you need to have them adjusted. It'd be $88 to adjust all the axles, and they're disc brakes." So I said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." And then that was on a Friday evening. Saturday, I took the truck out and I drove it around Lubbock for probably 25, 30 miles to get the rust off the rotors. And I got them all nice and shiny, and you could tell the pad was making full contact. Everything's good. So this Monday morning yesterday, I took it back to the international, or well, it's the Kenworth International dealer here in Lubbock, and he come out and looked at it, and he said, "Todd, it passes, but I don't feel comfortable putting my name on it, so I'm not going to pass it." Now, that's BS. Think about that statement. "Todd, it passes. It's legal, but I'm still not going to pass it unless you let me do a $9,800 brake job. And if we can find a way to save you money on that $9,800 brake job, we will." Well, you guys know they always undercut it a little bit. If they say 9,800, it's probably realistically going to be about 10.5. So I said, "Well, I'm not doing that." So I called the dealership. The dealership was great. They said, "Hey, Todd, if it needs anything, we'll fix it, but you got to bring it back to us." And I was getting ready to do that. And the guy that owns the company I'm getting ready to go lease on to, I called him and I was like, "Man, I got some bad news. I'm going to have to take this truck back to Iowa." And I started telling him the problems and everything, and I was at my wit's end. I was ready to give up. And he said, "Todd, all the people you know, all the connections you have," he said, "can't you get a second opinion from somewhere?" And I guess my attitude wasn't right. I was going, "Oh, you don't understand. I've got nobody wants to approve it. Nobody's at the Peterbilt place." And I decided to call an old friend of mine, Ramon, that also lives here in Lubbock. And he's also a former coworker of mine. Um, and I said, "Hey, Ramon, here's the problem I have. Do you know anybody here that does honest state inspections?" I said, "The truck will pass." I said, I can get up to 40 miles an hour. I can slam on the brakes if you want me to. No shimmy in the steering wheel. It stops on a dime like a car." He said, "Yeah, run it over to this place." And he gave me the name of a leasing company here in Lubbock. And they looked the truck over fairly, about 15, 20 minutes worth. And they said, "All right, it passes." And so, that's the reason I'm telling you this long story. And in this story, I'm kind of the donkey. Is attitude can be everything. Here I was down in the dumps. I was ready to give up. And here's another guy that's encouraging me, telling me, "Don't give up. Try this. If you have to go to Iowa, fine, go to Iowa, but don't go until you've exhausted every other available option." And think of all the hundreds of dollars that guy's positive attitude saved me. His attitude was positive enough for both of us. And like I say, I'm not doing this for brownie points. You guys don't know what company he owns or nothing like that. But maybe that's the reason he owns a company and I don't. Maybe it's nothing more than just attitude. Maybe he's got that can do attitude that I don't have. But anyway, got the inspection. got the title transferred. And so we spent as much of yesterday as we could. We kept having rain delays. I didn't want to load the truck in the rain. And then today we finished up. And for those that have never done it, maybe you're not a truck driver, maybe you're not familiar. If you've never moved in or out of a truck, it is some work. Usually takes me about 8 or 9 hours to move in or out of a truck. I pack everything. I was telling that owner, same guy I was just talking about, that when I went to Roadrunner and the engine blew on that first truck after 3 weeks, and they lease purchased me another truck and basically took that one back to the people they bought it from. Uh, they were amazed. We showed up, and my wife's Ford Edge was packed front to back, and they were like, "Man, did you bring the whole house?" I said, "No, but I brought everything I needed to be prepared. I've got spare fuses. I got bungee cords. I got tire socks. I got, spare headlights, spare fuses. I'm ready to go to work. I've got a spare pigtail. I'm ready. I've got tools." And it's a lot of crap to carry on a truck. But, and you are to see inside this Kenworth right now. I haven't got everything put up yet. I've just basically got it thrown in here in a way that where it won't shift around while I'm driving. But when I park tonight, I'll have to move stuff around, and it'll take me a couple of weeks to organize and get stuff where I want it. I'm a little embarrassed because when I get to this orientation, I know they're going to see the inside of the truck. If nothing else, when they're putting the lettering on it, or when they're putting in their ELD, I hope they'll just let me put in the ELD. But that's what I'm a little embarrassed about. It's kind of like when you have company come over and they see your house is messy. It's a situation I'd like to avoid, but it is what it is. But I'm just happy to be going to work after 2 months, and I'm going to be working hard the next 2 months. If there's something I need to pass through the house for, I will, but I'm going to stay out and work just as much as I can. All right, let's get to a couple more comments, and then we'll jump back into the story if there's any questions y'all have. Let's see here. Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't offend you. I thought you were a male, sir, but I wasn't sure. Um, I had somebody, because I had somebody I offended once, and I've tried to be mindful of it since then. Uh, in Texas, there's a lot of times you'll say "you guys," and it's not gender based. It means male or female. And so I'd say, "Have a great night, guys," or something like that. And I had a female that got offended because she thought that I was saying women couldn't drive trucks, or women wasn't welcome on the channel, or things like that. I'm not. I just so I've started trying to say folks, FOLKS. But if I slip sometimes and say guys or y'all or something like that, it's not gender based at all. I don't care if you're male, female, or somewhere in the middle. You're all welcome here, and I appreciate each and every one of you the same. I used to work where you worked, not Swift. Okay. I in almost 27 years of driving, that's another thing I want to touch on. I've worked a few places. Several of them I've worked for 4 or 5 years. A few of them I've worked for 2 or 3 months. It just depends on the quality of the company. The biggest mistake I made was I worked at one company as a local driver, or not local, but let's call it a regional driver for 2 or 3 years. And I wasn't making enough money, and I got behind on bills, and I overextended myself. So when I decided to go over the road, I, I was desperate. The first company said yes, boom, I was there. No research, no nothing. And I did that for about 3 companies that I remember. One of them was Trucks for You out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. And I should have known that was failure. They were paying like 89 cents a loaded mile back then. I knew it wasn't a great deal, but I did it because they were the first person to say yes. And I went to Robert Heath here in Lubbock because they were in Lubbock, and I thought, okay, this will be great. Well, shortly after I went there, they sold out to Soar, and it was a totally different deal. They shut the Lubbock terminal, and so that was a short-lived deal. And there's one more, Western Flyer. I went there, and it wasn't a terrible deal, but it was definitely a bait and switch when you got to orientation. So I knew at orientation it wasn't going to be a long-term deal, and I was there exactly 91 days, and it was mainly because I misread the contract. The contract said the opposite of what I thought it said. If you quit in under 90 days, your fees were different than if you lasted more than 91 days. And I got it backwards. I thought your fees went down if you stayed at least 90 days. So I literally got a calendar and counted to 91 days, and I left on the 91-day mark. But I think he's talking about Dart Transit. And a lot of people misunderstand me and think I don't like Dart Transit. And I do like Dart Transit. It's just they have two shops that I don't like at all, Ellenwood, Georgia, and Lancaster, Texas. And they have a safety department that had some people in it that were kind of on a power trip. Let's just be honest. Now, it's been a while since I've been there. I don't know if that safety guy is still there. I don't know if they've had a new change in management. I heard that the Ellenwood terminal was looking for a new shop manager. So the problems I experienced when I was there may not be a problem for you now. I really don't know enough to comment about any of those companies now because companies are constantly evolving, companies are constantly changing. I can only tell you what my experience was when I was there. My good friend Mark says, hit the like button. Yes, please do that. What it does, it helps in the algorithms. It also, when you leave a comment, it helps. Even if you disagree, say, I disagree with you. That's okay. It's considered an interaction, and it really helps my video to get out to more people on YouTube. When you're scrolling through, it'll be a suggested video. And so people that have never heard of Trucker Todd are going to hear of Trucker Todd. I'm also working on getting some cool stuff so that, like, if you guys are at the truck show, the Expedited Truck Show, July 21st and 22nd in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you meet me, I'm hoping to have some pins and things like that to give out at the show. So if you're in the area and you can stop by, I'll try to have a really cool Trucker Todd pin or maybe some hats or something. We'll see how it goes. Uh, I got a deal today that I'm looking at. I can get 1,000 pins, and so I may have some pins and some cool stuff like that to hand out if you happen to be there, or if I see you at a truck stop or something like that. Thanks. It's been a long road with ups and breakdowns. Now I replaced everything, so I should be golden. Yeah, from when was it? About 2007 to about, I don't know, 2012, 2013. Trucks seem like they got a lot less reliable, mainly because of all the emissions changes. But it seems like that the companies are figuring it out. And I found this out when I was truck shopping. There's a ton of trucks out there now with 800,000, or even I saw several over 1,000,000 miles that are still running like a top. And so it sounds like that a lot of these manufacturers are starting to get the bugs worked out of the emissions stuff, and maybe they're starting to finally build good trucks again. I sure hope so, because if we can't get good rates, at least we need reliable trucks to kind of lower our expenses. I've been home since Thursday. I decided to take some time off and away from the truck. I needed it. Yeah, that was something that was always real important to me is when I got home, I didn't want to think about the truck at all. I wanted to be present with the family doing those things. Now, because of the whole Trucker Todd thing, it's still kind of hard because um, I still get the phone calls and the questions, not just from drivers, but from companies and stuff too. And the odds of you getting me on the phone the first time you call is pretty rare. Usually you have to leave me a voicemail and I have to call you back. But, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. Um, It's been a life changing thing. It's a lot of fun helping people and knowing that you're making a difference, or at least feeling like you're making a difference. Um, my information's in the ticker if any of y'all need to get a hold of me, or if you look on the screen up here, it's got the web address there. It has a link on there where you can contact me through that as well. But it's Todd at truckertodd.net if you want to email me. 10-4, I just like the truck you're in because it has a swivel. Yeah, this truck has two things in almost 27 years of driving I've never had. It has the swivel seat with the little desk, so I can flip my chair around and and do these videos and stuff. That's really cool. And it also has heated and air conditioned seats. I've never had that option on any truck I've had before either. So that's I realize. Come on, guys. I realize it's stupid for those to be things I like about a truck, but it is pretty cool. And it's not the reason I selected this truck, but they are two nice features to have. My truck is a 2018 KW T680, very reliable. Do you have the Cummins or the PACCAR engine? Somebody sent me a video where they did a comparison and they were fair to both engines and they showed the advantages to both engines. And so, I'm not going to beat you up or verbally. I mean, I don't mean physically. I'm not going to attack you verbally for whichever engine you have. I'm just curious. I'm on I-20 East in Louisiana. I'm not quite there yet, but I'll be there later tonight, unless I get sleepy. Good friend Wesley Baxley is here. Hey, thanks for being here, man. Who money bags you might think to slow down on the spending? Oh, if you only knew, just well, like just because you're at home, your bills don't stop. And I had the trip to, well, there's a lot of stuff there, but the trip to Iowa was very expensive. My wife had to drive me up there because it was right before Memorial Day. We couldn't get a rental car. An airplane ticket was going to be almost $900. There was the expenses of her having to come to East Texas and get me and bring all my stuff back to Lubbock. There's some hotels involved, some on the road food. It's just a lot of things. And you got to remember, it was almost $7,000 when my truck broke down in Chattanooga right before the accident. So that's I know it blows my mind too. But that's why when people ask me, how much money should I save up, I tell them as much as you can, because you never know what's going to happen. That truck that caused my first bad experience with Robert Truck Sales here in Lubbock, it was $43,000 if I would have had to rebuild that Cummins. And I was just lucky that Roadrunner said, no, you've only had it 3 weeks. We don't think this is right. We're going to trade you out of it. And we're going to go after the people that sold us the truck to try to recoup our money. Because 43,000 would have sunk me. And honestly, it'd probably sink most of the people in here. And somehow I've survived, but it has not been easy. And so let's see here. I had no idea. Thanks for the info. You're welcome, Greg. Thanks for giving me some of your time tonight. No, sir. No live Thursday night, and that's why we don't have a guest tonight. This is kind of the substitute for the Thursday show. Hopefully on Friday night or Tuesday of next week we can put something out. They've already got me a load out of orientation, or I think they do. I'll find out tomorrow. I am going to be booking my own stuff, but he thinks he's got me something for a little over $3 a mile that he offered me if I wanted it, to kind of help me out of the gate. And I said, sure. It's a run he normally does because he still drives. and I guess he's going to take the weekend off or something. But yeah, it's it's work. Everything's working out. I can't say it hadn't been stressful because it's definitely been stressful, and more than once I've thought about just giving up and going and doing a lease purchase or being a company driver. But I've hung in there and I've made it. And this is not bragging on me. Like I said, I was ready to throw in the towel, and that guy called me, that owner, and his positive attitude changed my attitude. So I'm grateful to him for that. Yeah, Wesley, I was saying earlier in the show that we're probably not going to say where I'm at for 2 or 3 months at least. Now that could change if I stop somewhere and I'm getting diesel and somebody finds out where it is and puts it on YouTube. Then of course at some point I may have to address it. But I'd really like to just evaluate this company, be a regular guy and not Trucker Todd, and see how they are. Obviously, I know July 21st when I go to that expedited truck show that the odds are pretty good somebody will see my truck there. Um, my truck number is going to be 806. I'm going to have silver lettering, so it's going to be Dallas Cowboy colors. And so, I mean, I'm going to be pretty easy to spot, but I'm not hard pushing the company because it's self dispatch, and a lot of guys can't self dispatch. And B, I want to go in there and experience. I hadn't even gone to orientation yet. Now, me and my wife sat and had a 2.5 hour dinner with them. They flew to Lubbock, him and his wife. And so I have a pretty good feel for the company, and they have a pretty good feel for me. But, anything could happen. And so far, I've liked his attitude. I've liked how he's behaved when I told him, there's a problem, thrown him a curveball. But we'll see. Things can always change, but I'm pretty excited. So we went to Longhorn Steakhouse here in Lubbock, and it was pretty good. So yeah, that's where we went. Yeah, what I should have done, I should have called you. They, I didn't even think about it, Larry, but I should have gave you a call. I went to CNS Leeson over there, kind of behind where Rips used to be on 50th and A, and they're great people. I wanted them to do some future maintenance work for me, and they said that their lease trucks go first, and some of the times the wait times could be long, but they would definitely, if I was in Lubbock, be somebody I'd try in the future. JB Trailer, yeah, I'll have to check them out. They're on over by Coca-Cola on A. JB Trailer, Coca. Oh, I know where you're talking about. I didn't even know they did them because they're kind of off the road back there. But yeah, I didn't even know they did them. That's good information. Thank you for that. Hello, everyone. Good friend CJ is here. Had to move in and out of a truck twice in one day. Oh man, I bet you were dragging. That this is another stupid thing for me to say, but that's one more reason I don't want to be a company driver, because company driver, they can tell you got to switch trucks at any time, and it's some work. It, I hate changing trucks. Racing Ray 28 is here. Hey Todd, I'm glad you're back on the road. Me too, man. I'll give you a call later tonight if I can, if it's not too late, and if it is, I'll holler at you tomorrow. Good evening, Todd and Fly Rabbit. Good evening, American Trucker. Glad you're here. Just close the curtains and call it good. Keep the front clean. Yeah, I wish. I got to cover some miles tonight. And with all the rain we've had in Lubbock, I've got mud on the truck. So somewhere between here and orientation, I got to get this truck washed. And but yeah, it's pretty when it's clean. But I don't know if I can wash it because I've got the signs on the side of it that say not for hire. And, when they wash it, a lot of times they'll scrub those right off. So I may have to wait till after I get my decals on to wash it. We'll see. I guess I could take them off and put them back on. The Fly Rabbit says hello to American Trucker. Sounds like the KW International were trying to rip you off. Yeah, he did another thing I didn't tell in that story. So he says, well, we've got two other inspectors here. I'm going to go inside and get them. And if they want to pass it, then they can pass it. But I just don't feel comfortable putting my name on the inspection, even though it passed. He's like, I mean, he was looking it over hard. And so he goes in and get these two guys and he brings them out. He's like, hey, Trucker Todd, because I had the ticket under Trucker Todd LLC. And he brings them out and he says, now, Todd, I haven't told them nothing about the truck, but I'm just going to have them look it over. And I said, okay. His very next sentence was, come look at these brakes. And they go back there. Well, these are people that drink coffee with him every day. They're not going to go against him. They said basically the same thing. They said, yeah, it passes, but we're not going to override what he's done. And so, unless you get the $9,800 worth of brake work done. And so, I was like, wow, okay. So I just went somewhere else. But yeah, if you're ever broke down in Lubbock, avoid the Kenworth dealer. Right across the street's a Peterbilt dealer, and they're night and day difference in shop abilities and reputation. And if you don't believe me, look up the Kenworth dealer in Lubbock and read the reviews. I'm not the first person to say these things, but it'd been, 4 or 5 years since I'd been there. And so I was hoping that maybe they had new people and that they had changed, but they obviously hadn't. Tactical. Disagree, LOL. Thank you. I still appreciate the interaction. That's funny, by the way. So that's another good question. I'm not putting that number out just because everybody's different based on credit, based on type of truck you're getting, things like that. And I don't want to hog tie the dealership. So, for example, they have 3 levels. Payments start at $650 and go to $750 a week, depending on which truck you select. They also have terms that range from, I think, 3 years to 5 years. I'm not sure about that. But if I tell you my payment was this, I got the truck for this, and you qualify for something that's not quite as good, then you're going to be like, hey, they ripped me off, or Todd's line, or something like that. So that's why I put Avery's number down in the ticker. If you want to see what kind of deal you can get, he can tell you what trucks are available and things like that. But I just don't want to throw that information out there and subject myself to scrutiny. So another thing about that too, even though I've been doing lease purchases since 2001, even though I paid cash for a truck, excuse me, even though I paid cash for a truck, they still consider me a first time buyer at all the dealerships. Aero Truck Sales, who used to be known for doing people for like 20% down, told me they were going to want like 40%. No, I think they were 30% down. And their interest rate was really high too. Uh, Pedigree, which sells used prime trucks, told me they wanted 40% down and the interest rate was 30%, which is through the roof, outrageous. So I felt like, I was looking for a deal, for me, but I was also looking for a deal for you guys. So I felt like, I knew going in that I was going to pay more for the truck than what it was worth because I was considered a first time buyer. I didn't have any business credit. I'd only had my LLC a couple of months. So I knew I wasn't going to get the cream of the crop deal. And honestly, if you're a first time truck buyer, you're probably not either. But 5,000 down plus taxes. My part was, I think, 5728 that I had to pay to get the truck. And of course, you've got other expenses. You've got to get your 2290. You got to figure out what you're going to do about plates, things like that, truck insurance. But it makes it a very affordable option for somebody that doesn't want to do a company lease purchase and be under a company's thumb. Let's see what else we got here. So does mine. Mine has the PACCAR engine with 482,000. I've had it with 308 last year. Well, there you go. That's great. And somebody was asking me about PACCAR, and they did go through some years where they had some issues, but it seems like they've got them all worked out. And that YouTube video that guy sent me, it showed them, and without a doubt, he had his Cummins turned all the way up, and I think it was, I don't know, it seemed like it was 560 something horsepower or something. If you're doing heavy haul or you're constantly pulling 80,000 pounds around the country, Cummins is probably a better deal for you. But if you're pulling some lighter loads and an occasional heavy load and fuel economy is important to you, then the PACCAR is probably a better deal, was basically what the YouTube video said. Ah, the right way to truck. What's your channel name? I'll check it out when I get a chance. I'm not familiar with it. Let's see. Start orientation at Melton on Monday. Can't wait. Thanks for all your info that helped me make my decision. Good deal, man. Do me a favor when you get there. Let me know how it goes, and email me. Tell me, because somebody, and it probably won't be that far in the future, is going to say, "Hey, have you ever heard anything about Melton?" And if you're giving me true, honest feedback, I can say, "Yeah, I've heard it's a great place," or I can say, "No, don't go there. They say this, but they really do this." And granted, it's not firsthand knowledge, and I always put out if it's a place I've worked or not, but it gives somebody some real feedback, and you could potentially help a lot of people, because I do get a lot of questions like that. Yeah, it runs smooth just like a brand new truck. This one too, it's quiet going down the highway. And I know some of the old timers, they like the noise, the vibration, the rumble of the truck. And I ain't gonna lie, I like it too. But the older you get, the quieter you want things to be. And so it's also nice to be able, when people would call me and I was in that Cummins, a lot of times I couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear me. And this truck is as quiet as a dually pickup and as smooth riding as a luxury dually pickup. Your King Ranch or your Lariat or your Laramie, or the High Country GM products. It's a pretty smooth, comfortable ride. I gave 74 for my truck. I got it in January 2022. That's actually probably, it depends how it's spec'd and everything. That's probably not a bad deal. You got to remember, at that time, truck prices were inflated. And so if you're happy, and it's obviously been a good truck, I would say it's worth the money if you're happy. 10-4. Yes, sir, Mr. Wesley. I hope you're able to drive again at some point. The Southern Gentleman Podcast is here. Thanks for coming in. My good friend Daryl is here. I'm glad he could make it. Late, but I'm in. Good deal, Kobe. Better late than never. I'm glad you're here. JB Trailer put an inspection on my Harley. So they do motorcycles and cars, but they do commercial semis too. Because I went out to Forest Tire, and Forest Tire had told me on Friday, yeah, we do commercial inspections for big trucks. And Google said they opened at 7 a.m. So I got there at 7 a.m. on Monday, and they ended up not opening until 8. And I go in there at 8, and they said, no, we don't do big trucks anymore. So that turned out to be a big waste of time. A lot of owner ops are coming over to pull Walmart freight. Oh, really? Really? How are you liking it? Because you just got on that account. Is it everything they promised? Is it as advertised? Here's a guy I just spoke with, I think earlier today. My good friend Chris Bollinger is here. Michael says his lease is almost over too. Congratulations, man. It's a big accomplishment. You know, we don't celebrate when we pay off our cars or houses or things like this, but when you pay off a commercial vehicle, it's a big accomplishment because let's just be honest, the deck's stacked against you. There's a million things that can go wrong, both personally and professionally. And if you make it to the finish line, uh, you deserve a congratulations and a pat on the back for sure. Oh yeah, this truck can make me about 18K a month in my bank account. I spend about 990 a week in fuel. Doesn't sound bad. How many miles a week are you running to get that? Did you ever work at Risinger? I remember correctly, you did do a video about him. Yes, I did do a video about him, but no, I never worked for him. There was a lot of people that were interested in Risinger, and I did some research on him and looked him up, but I've never worked there. And I believe I stated in the video because I regret doing that video because a lot of people took that to mean that I worked there, and they're like, "Oh, you worked at Risinger for a week and quit." And no, there was also did Walmart, and I never have worked for Walmart as a driver, nor would I ever. And I think I did a couple more companies as well. That's been a while back. Buddy of mine worked there when I got inspected a few years ago. Oh, cool. Good evening, Todd and everyone. Congratulations on the transition. Hey, Shannon Thomas is here. Good to have her in the house. Um, Shannon, did I text you back? I thought I did, but I don't remember. It's been a crazy week. I want to say that while I'm here. If any of you tried to message me and I didn't get through, or you didn't get through, I didn't respond back to you, please send your message again. Especially the last 2 weeks or so have been uh, chaotic to say the least. And I'm not ignoring anybody or avoiding anybody. I'm just I've been overwhelmed. I've been doing all I could physically do. I celebrated the debt payoff of a divorce lawyer. Hey, there you go. It's always good when you can pay the lawyer off. 33 to 3,500 a week. There you go. You're running pretty hard. Let's see, 33 and 990. So you're getting some decent fuel economy, or either that, or you must have the ES Advantage fuel card because you're getting some pretty good fuel rates there. Just doing the numbers in my head. Good deal. Uh, don't be a stranger. I'm glad you messaged me. Trucks are usually 80 to 90 grand. Where you save money is your commercial score. Yeah, that's a lot of it, and you have to factor things in like the APU and things like that. I was willing to pay a little more for a truck that had this Evolution tri-pack, the newer version of the tri-pack, just for what you save in fuel. I estimate I'm going to save a little over 900 a month in fuel. Some guys say you save 12 or 1300. And when you stack that with that ES Advantage card, which I usually save about 1300 a month with it just, those kind of things are where you start to see the money. And people always say, well, Todd, I don't see how you make money in this economy. That's how you do it, by looking for financial advantages like that. KW burn less fuel with TA, loves fuel, goes right through them. I've heard that certain truck stops do better on fuel economy than others, and that's an experiment I'm going to do with this truck. I need to try to run one for a couple of weeks and then switch to another. You know, the reason that's hard to do is because I'm going to try to get a general idea. Is everybody still hearing me okay? My screen's gone out twice. And it sounds like we're having technical Tuesday again. Did you get a chance to check out Billy Strings? He's a bluegrass player, but it's more like rockabilly bluegrass. Not yet, but it's on my list. It's you'd be amazed how bad this week's been. I hadn't had a chance to do anything. I hadn't been to my uncle's house, but I think once in recent memory, and I was just there for a few hours. I hadn't seen my son in a while. I've been going from sun up to sundown, and but I will check it out. I can promise you that. Maybe tonight or tomorrow. We'll see how far I get tonight. What's your view on super singles? This came up in a call. This is a great question. So I like the theory of super singles, but here's the problem with super singles. And the best way to talk about it is use my Swift truck as an example. So the Swift truck had duals on it, and on one tire position, I think it was the left rear outside, I had a nail that got on the shoulder edge of the tread on 3 different tires and had to have the tire replaced because it would leak down. Nobody would patch it. I was able to get tires for like $300. So total, let's say 900. Let's round it up. Let's call it $1,000. One super single is usually around $1,300 to $1,500. So what I got away with for under 1,000 would have cost me roughly 4,500 had I had super singles. Then you can see the stock on my steering column here. This truck's an automatic. Automatics with super singles, I don't care what anybody tells you, don't do as good as they should in rain and snow and things like that. They just don't have as much traction. So the advantage to a super single is, A, you know when it's flat, but when it's flat, you're also stuck. You can't roll to the next exit or nothing like that. Some people would say that's a good thing. So I'm not a big fan of super singles. Yeah, do you get some fuel economy advantages? Absolutely. Uh, and there's some debate about how much, but I think everybody pretty much agrees that they have a better rolling resistance. So you do get better fuel economy. But the savings that you get from having a super single are negated by what it costs you if you get a nail on the side and have to replace the tire, things like that. So I think there's, a few years ago, all the companies moved to super singles, all the big mega carriers, and now you're seeing most of them move back to duals, mainly because drivers don't like them and they see what I'm saying now. But I know Prime, even if you take your own truck there, they'll swap your duals out for a super single. And I've got a problem with that because if I worked there 6 months and quit and I've had to buy tires, I don't get to keep those super singles. They're going to pull them off and they're going to put my duals back on there. And I think I ought to be able to keep the tires and keep my truck spec'd the way that I bought it if I want to. Now, if I want super singles, fine. Make me a deal on a set. So, yeah, the short answer is basically what Red Raider said. Stay away from super singles, in my opinion. I loved loves until I realized when I was spending more fuel faster than when I went to TA, went from Concordia, Missouri to Ohio, still half a tank. Yeah, and I know what the flip side of that, some guys are going to say TA and petro fuel's more expensive. And to that, I would say maybe. It depends what fuel card you're using. The company I'm going to uses Nastic. I can't pronounce that word. And then I have ES Advantage. And I told them I'm going to compare both cards and I'm going to use whichever's cheapest in whatever situation. And I'm going to sprinkle Mudflap in sometimes as well. And they were fine with it. My screen went out twice. Did we still have audio during that time, or did the audio go away? Daryl said he can hear me fine. That's good. I always get nervous on the Tuesday show because Technical Tuesday always happens. Oh, good. Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, I do too. And you can feel a difference. I remember the first time I drove a super single truck. It was actually at Dart, and I had a mid roof Volvo. And I was like, dang, this thing feels squirrely. And after a few days or weeks or whatever, I got to where I got used to it. But you got on snow and ice, and you had to be extra careful. PACCAR was tested in Europe for years and brought them here to put the emissions on them. Then they lost a lot of their power. Yeah, but you know they can. Mine's at 455 right now, which is about standard, and it can be turned up to I believe 505 or 515, and I'm okay with that. And then there's things you can have done to the mapping on the transmission to where it shifts difference. For me, I'm all about the fuel economy. Now this thing has that I forget what they call it, but basically when you come up on a hill, it'll coast at the crest of the hill and kind of coast down the hill, and it's supposed to help with fuel economy. I hate that. I ain't gonna lie to you. It may save a little bit of fuel, but it feels like the truck's surging when it does it, or it does to me. And so I'm gonna look at options to turn that off. And it may be that I decide to keep it, but it's going to take some getting used to. The Peterbilt and the Kenworth at Dart did the same thing, and you get used to it over time. One thing this truck does that I like better though is it doesn't seem to slam on the brakes like the Dart trucks did, or even the Freightliner at Swift. It would slam on the brakes. This one will kind of like slow you down, but you still feel like you're in control and it's not slamming on the brakes. And I haven't gone under an overpass yet where it thought I was going to hit the overpass either. Thank you very much, Tito's and Soda. Huh? What are you confused about, DW? I'll try to help you out. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll down, get some more comments. I got it for 302. The pump price was 332, and I only took me 84 gallons to fill up on the second hash mark on the fuel gauge. Yeah, and I don't know now that BP has officially took over for TA and Petro, maybe fuel prices will get better. Um, we'll see. Okay, thanks, Dennis. I'm not sure what the cause is. I have a basic idea, but if I change anything right now, there's a good possibility it'll drop the feed. So we're just going to have to try to get through this one, and then, well, I can try to make a change and see what happens. Let's see here. Give me just a second. We're going to try something, folks. Hopefully, if it cuts out for a minute, hang in there. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I think we're back. I hope everybody can hear me. Trying to switch to a different network I've got here in the truck did not work. It may be the cutting in and out's just a necessary evil tonight. It's frustrating to have all these different networks in my truck and none of them seem to work, especially on Tuesdays. Hey, Pablo, thanks for being here. Manny's in Jersey tonight. Good evening. Glad you're here. Thanks for hanging with me, Michael. Looks like we still got most everybody here. We're still at 51. But yeah, I think I am going to, matter of fact, I think the next place I'm planning to buy fuel is a TA. It doesn't sound like it's playing through my headset. Give me just a minute. It's not. Trying to get my headset to work. Okay, that should be better. That should be a lot better. Yep, that's what happened. It went back through my laptop. It should be loud again. You guys tell me how the volume is. Chris says he can't hear. James says low volume, no volume. Okay, it should be back. I think we've got all the technical bugs worked out. And so, sorry about that. It's a little frustrating to have. I've got Verizon, AT&T, and yeah, Verizon and AT&T in here, and still sometimes it's difficult to get a signal that'll last through the whole show. Good deal. Chris says it's back. So I'm going to take off all the comments for a second while we're waiting for the next round of questions. That way it'll pop up the website. You guys check it out if you hadn't been there. Oh, Michael brings up an excellent point. Yeah, that's true. You go to, I mentioned that Love's here in Lubbock. You go in there. If you needed a set of 4 super singles, very few truck stops have them because they're that expensive. Usually they have 1 or 2. If you need more than that, they have to go pick them up from another truck stop, and it can be difficult to get. Also, if you blow one and it bends the rim, as Michael's saying, sometimes it can be hard to get a rim. And I shouldn't have to say this, or if you've got a driver in a truck and they curb one of the tires and bend the rim, you wouldn't think that you'd need rims that often, but seems like that's a problem. Also, somebody mentioned this the other day, and I never thought of it. The old steel rims, the white ones. Have you guys noticed that if you have a white steel rim, that you have to air those up more than if you have like the Alcoa aluminum rims? I don't know what it is, but just the standard steel rims seem like they leak down a little more. And also on my truck, on this Kenworth, one of the axle covers, the chrome axle covers, has a dent in it. How do you get a dent in the axle covers? I guess when you take them off to change a tire or something, if you threw them down, you could dent them on the ground or something. But you normally don't see them dented, and this one has a dent in it, which I think is kind of weird. That's a great point by Michael, though. Something I totally forgot about. It's been the last time I had that truck with Dart was 2014. So it's been, what is that, 8 years ago since I did super singles. Now, who was it? Dart. I think it was Dart had super singles on their trailers, and you get used to it, but those feel kind of squirrely too. Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, this headset here was one I wanted to retire, but I've started using it for my YouTube lives because it everybody says that they can hear me better. Yeah, I guess they're kind of beating them on with their hands, but it shouldn't be that hard to get one on, I wouldn't think. And if a shop did it, I'd be wanting them to replace it. But I guess this guy didn't want to do that. Yeah, with your hand. So this truck, I hadn't said this in any other videos. This truck was formerly at Hirschbach before I bought it. And I can't believe that Hirschbach has these nice trucks over there. I don't know if it was a team truck for one of their million milers, because the mileage is a little on the high side for a solo driver. But I mean, it's loaded out. So I just wonder. Most of the Hirschbach trucks I've seen weren't this fancy. But I don't have a TV anymore. My TV that I had in the Swift truck, I left it in the Swift truck. The back of it was cracked, and I knew it was on its last legs, so I just left it. But I got to buy a TV. And I'll probably do that in the next couple of weeks. Get me a Roku TV. I remember to bring some video game systems in case I'm on a 34 somewhere, but I didn't have a chance to buy a TV yet. I don't ever get time to watch TV hardly anyway. Satellite radio is far more important because I can usually listen to something while I'm going down the road. And I know I've mentioned that truck show a couple of times, but I haven't mentioned it a lot. That on that Friday morning, I believe it's Friday morning, I'm going to be on around 10:15 Eastern time, I believe. I'm going to be on the Road Dog channel for about 30 minutes. So if you guys have satellite radio, join me on there. If you can't make it to Fort Wayne to hang out with me, I have no idea what the questions are going to be about, what the topics are going to be about. Sometime I think on Saturday, I may have the dates and times wrong. When we get closer to time, we'll talk more about it. But I'm also going to be on like a panel up there and talking with some other people. So I hope you guys will be able to be a part of that. And I'm going to try to do some lives and stuff while I'm there for those that can't make it. And so hopefully you guys can check that out. And if there's any trucks there worth seeing, I'll do some more shorts like I did at the Mid-America Truck Show. That place was a blast. I can't wait to go there again. All right, the comments are slowing down. We're at an hour and 14 minutes now. If you guys got anything else, throw it up and we'll try to get to it. If you don't, I'll call it a night and get back on the road. As you can see behind me, it's still daylight here. And I want to get as far as I can while the sun's still up. I hope I'm still alive. I never really know. Anybody else? All right, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. The Fly Rabbit's already saying good night. Want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. As I said at the start of the show, there's not going to be one Thursday night. If you're subscribed, I may put up some community posts or stuff you can see, or if you're on Instagram or LinkedIn with me or anything like that. Hey Billy, thanks for being here. We're getting ready to call it a night. I think if you've got any questions, throw them up, and I'll try to get to them real quick before we take off. I got a long night of driving ahead of me. If those of you that want to call tonight, you can try. If I don't get to you tonight, I'll call you back tomorrow. But I got a long night tonight and a long day tomorrow. It's a total of 800 and something miles from Lubbock to where I'm going. Okay, Michael says the audio is lousy now. Daryl does a thumbs up. So we will go ahead and wrap it up. Billy, in a few minutes, it's going to put a replay up and you can watch it all. You can hear the crazy things that happened with my truck this week and why I'm not doing why I'm not doing a Thursday show. Oh man, we can't leave now. Michael says it's much better now. We can't leave now. We've got Cash King trucking in the house. So we got to hang around for a minute. Um, yeah, Cash, I was telling them about my week. I took my truck to get the Texas state inspection at the Kenworth dealer here in Lubbock. And the first time they didn't pass it because they said I had a problem with the brakes. They wanted to do $9,800 worth of work. And so I said, well, I'm going to go get a second opinion. I took it to Love's because it had brand new brake pads on it. Love said, oh, they just need to be adjusted. So I got it adjusted, took it back to the Kenworth dealer, and they said, yeah, it passes, but we're not going to pass you. And I've never had that happen in an inspection before. It passes, you meet the state requirements, but we're still not going to pass you. So I ended up having to find another shop and get it done. But it turned out to be a hassle. It took me almost a week to get the title transferred. And I'm on my way to orientation. I'll be starting it Thursday at 7 a.m. and going for about 13 hours. But I'm glad you're here, man. I really am. His good friend is also here, DIY Semi. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you being here. I watch you on Cash's channel, and it's good to see you in here. A lot of times I don't comment, but I usually watch. So we're going to hang around for a few minutes just because all of them came in, but if we don't have anything else, we'll wrap it up pretty soon, and I'll get back on the road driving. It's I'm honestly a little nervous because they say it's like riding a bike, but I don't think I've ever gone 2 months without driving a truck before. So, hopefully I can knock the rust off pretty quick and it'll be like old times. Yeah, Cash and DIY is here. It's an honor to have those two here. Those are two really, really big channels, and they put out a lot of good content. Cash had a truck on there. I guess the video was a few months old. That, man, it was a nice Kenworth. I was just drooling looking at that truck. Cash is saying hi to Shannon. But yeah, normally if you guys try to call me, oh, look at that. I didn't even tell you about that. See that cut on my head? When I was climbing under and over the truck and everything, trying to make sure it was ready to go, I hit my head and got a pretty good knot out of the deal. But fortunately, no brain damage or none that we can detect yet. Just the normal lack of. Went 10 years once, just like riding a bike. So for obvious reasons, I don't put my phone number on here because you just wouldn't believe the kind of calls I get. But if you go to my website or email me, I'll get in touch with you and then you'll have it. I'll put it up there, truckertodd.net or todd@truckertodd.net. And you can email me and then I can give you my number if you need it. When steel heats up, it expands, and when steel cools off, it retracts. That's true. Have a great weekend, everyone. Got a roll doing late night running myself this week. All right, Shannon, be careful out there. If you're on Interstate 20 or 10, holler at me. That goes for all of you out there. If any of you are on Interstate 20 or 10, holler at me. All right, yeah, email me. All right, it looks like everybody's getting, well, we're still at 45. It looks like a lot of you are taking off, and sounds like a lot of us are going to be driving tonight. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. You guys have a great night. Again, nothing on Thursday, but don't worry. We'll be back next week, maybe sooner. I might put something out Friday, depending on how the loads go and if I have the time. Thank y'all for watching and sticking with me through Technical Tuesday. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.